Well, then we'll look at the next stuff. So, Mike has been in the community for a while now, and we heard him uh, talking about IoT stuff a lot. So, in a couple of previous other devs meet, and so he has extensive technical background and as well now working on business development and stuff like that. So, Mike, we are up for your insights.
Yeah, sounds good. Let me switch over and share my screen here.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, guys, I cannot see anyone.
Okay. Is the presentation, or you cannot see even the?
I can see the presentation, but I can't see the people. For some reason, it looks like everybody.
Is that the case for any of us? How is it? Umesh, are you able to see all of us?
I can able to see. I can able to see everyone, and I also able to see the presentation that you showed earlier. So
I will log out and log in again. Maybe then it will work.
Yeah.
Sure. And I have a request from, if somebody have a background noise, please they can mute themselves, right? Otherwise, it would go in everybody's stream and then it would basically disturb everybody.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
So let's get the noise floor low. Right.
So let me kick off a short discussion on FOTA. So firmware updates over the air on IoT devices. It's an interesting topic. So I'll just hit a few discussion points here, just an introduction to who I am, and we'll talk about some of the benefits of FOTA, the trade-off in embedded environments, and then a little bit about the development lift, things to think about when you're doing FOTA and the implications it has on design, things like that. So first, just real quick, who I am. In my backgrounds in electrical engineering, a number of different roles in engineering management, leading product management groups, business development, marketing, and everything always around IoT, initially machine-to-machine space, and then the IoT, and then connected products, connected services. So I've always been in kind of a thought leadership space, writer, used to host podcasts, technology evangelist. Most recently last couple of roles, I was CTO for Advantech North America, and then most recently CTO for Multitech here in the U.S. And now I'm working as an independent advisor and fractional CTO, sometimes COO, Chief Marketing Officer as well. But my area of expertise is really a combination of technology and business around enterprise industrial IoT and connected products, connected services. I've been really big into wireless sensing since a long time now. It's probably 20 years ago we did our first low power wireless sensing products. So FOTA is an interesting topic. And one thing that's interesting is, IoT is all about IT and OT convergence, right? So when you get to the business side of actually selling in volume, an IoT device, you're always going to be selling to, or at least getting approval of the IT staff, because at the end of the day, this is a device that's going to go onto their network, so they have total control and veto power of what gets allowed onto their network. And it's in the IT staff, their whole world is all around servers and computers, and remote management's very important to them. They don't miss the days of having to walk to everybody's office to update things. They want to be able to remotely manage everything that they have access to. Then obviously cybersecurity is always a huge concern of theirs. But to them, everything kind of looks like a PC. So when you talk to them about selling them a system, let's just, for the sake of argument, say it's going to be a LoRaWAN system, and you're going to sell it to maybe it's a big box store, and you're dealing with a large IT department. So now you've got a gateway, and then you've got sensors. So they're going to send you a huge spreadsheet full of all their cybersecurity and IT requirements to attach a device to their network. and they're going to want you to fill that out for every part number that they're going to acquire from you. And you can do that for the gateway. First, everything is about, every question they ask is kind of assuming your device is a PC or a server. So, they don't know that it's a custom Linux build, embedded device. But you can do that for the gateway. That's going to be attached to their network, and you do need to follow all those cybersecurity practices and things like that. And it's a painful process to work through. But then we talk about the sensors. So now they have all those same requirements. They want you to fill out those same requirements for the sensors, and that's always going to include things like firmware updates and CVE notification and all those things around security. But that's just really not very practical. So you end up with a lot of RFP requirements for even things like remote wireless sensors that have requirements that might not make sense to you, especially as an embedded engineer. And FOTA is often one of those things. So I see the challenge not so much as how do we implement FOTA on a super constrained wireless device, though sometimes that's going to be a requirement. I think the challenge is more of, does the device really need it or not? And how can you convince them, how do you win that argument? So let's see here, I lost my, there. So when do we need it? So the reasons for it are all around security patch updates, and then also if you want to be able to change or add functionality to a device in the field. And that makes sense when your device is a PC, right? So it's meant to be a tool that's going to change over time. But if your device is a temperature sensor, when somebody buys that thing to be a temperature sensor, there's no firmware update that you can do to turn that thing into a pressure sensor, right? It's always going to be a temperature sensor all its life. So you're never going to change its functionality in the field. Now you could change its configuration in the field, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So we don't want to confuse firmware update with configuration changes. But the downside of FOTA is, first you have a temperature sensor, and that thing might be sending 20 bytes of data a day. And then you say you want to do a firmware update to that thing of a half a meg file or something like that. So that file size could exceed the lifetime payload that this device would ever have. And first, if that's over a constrained network, so say it's over LoRa with a wide spreading factor, so a super low data rate, just to get that file successfully sent over the network could take 3 or 4 days just to one device. You imagine if that's a network of 100 devices. So that can be a huge problem. And then, of course, if it's a battery-powered device, odds are good that that battery is going to go dead during the FOTA process because you're keeping the thing awake so long. It was never designed to be awake for such a long period of time. So those are the kind of serious challenges up against. When we make the case for IT, it's really about convincing them that, look, a sensor is not a compute device. And I like a couple analogies I tend to give when I'm speaking with the IT teams that are pushing for this. One is I talk about just the thermostat, on their wall, and I'm talking about today's, Nest type thermostat, more the traditional Honeywell, wired thermostat. That's a device that you installed in 1988 in your home, and it's always done its job. It's kind of an electromechanical device. And the other, it doesn't need firmware updates over the air. The other one is just the computer and mouse analogy. So of course your computers, they want to be able to remotely manage those and do all that, but they don't worry about things like a mouse. So I make the analogy that the sensor is a dedicated device, very much like a computer accessory, not like a computer itself. It does get a little murky when you get to cellular devices. So these, get a cellular telemetry type device, they're kind of stuck in the middle road. And this wasn't really a problem when we had 3G or LTE devices because they had quite a lot of, reasonable amount of bandwidth to, so it wasn't super constrained network, except you're paying for that data. Now that we have CAT-M and narrowband IT, where you're getting into, you might be paying, $1 a month or less for a data plan, and all of a sudden you need to do a 2 megabyte firmware update over a 100 kilobit network. Once again, you get into some constrained network challenges. In this case, it's not quite as bad, but you definitely want to think about it if you're doing a solar powered device. So a lot of these remote telemetry devices, you'll have a battery to get you through a few dark days and a small solar cell, and you're designing that around the use case of, hey, this thing is going to wake up every hour and send me the level in the tank or something like that. But now you have to design for a use case of, hey, I'm going to do a firmware update over the air, and that might be a 12 megabyte file going into this thing. And it's not necessarily your firmware. It could very likely be the module firmware of the U-Blocks module or the Telet module or Quectel module you have in that thing. Now, a lot of the carriers, especially here in the US, to get carrier certification, a lot of them will require that your device does support that firmware over the air for the cellular radio module, because they're worried that there's been at least one instance in the past here in the US where I believe it was Verizon did an update to their towers, and then all of a sudden there was a certain number of machine-to-machine devices that could no longer communicate successfully in certain use cases, so needed firmware updates. So they made that a requirement just to get through the carrier certification, but that's a little unique to the US market. Just a couple other comments. We do need to differentiate configuring a device over the air. So again, think of a simple wireless temperature sensor. We don't need to do a firmware update, but don't make it such that you can't configure the device over the air. So what do I mean by configure? Something as simple as a temperature sensor, you might change its update rate to say, hey, when we launched this thing, we thought we needed updates once every 5 minutes on the temperature. And then as we gained experience, we said, boy, that's too often. We could get by with once every 30 minutes and our battery will last that much longer. So you want to be able to do that in mass to your devices over the air and change their configuration. Or a lot of devices you have an alert threshold. I've got wireless sensing devices in my home in Illinois where it's gotten really cold, and I'm down in Arizona right now. Those devices send me an alert when it gets down to 5 degrees C in the area around my plumbing. And I was watching the cold weather the other day, and I was getting a lot of alerts. I said, boy, do I really need it at 5 degrees C, or should I turn it down to 3 degrees C so my text messages aren't going off so often? So I was able to just do that remotely over the air. There are a number of wireless vendors out there that they force you to interact one-on-one with that device. So if you want to change a setting, you need to do something to it locally. And that just does not, that's fine for a pilot or a prototype sort of thing. But if you're going to develop a product for the commercial market in scale, nobody will accept the idea that, hey, I'm going to buy 1,000 of these sensors from you, and if I want to change their just configuration, that I'm going to have to go out and revisit each of these sensors every time. So definitely differentiate when you're designing, configuring the device over the air is very, very important for commercial success, but not sort of firmware over the air. The technical lift, first, you need a really robust transfer protocol to get that file, which is going to be broken down into thousands and thousands of tiny packets. A lot of times that stack is available from the radio manufacturer or through the standards bodies. You're probably going to need to consider differential technologies, which is a whole topic in itself of its own complexity. So you're only doing a differential firmware update. The real key thing is to be sure that it's a fail-safe system. So you're sending all this firmware over a very unreliable network that could have a lot of packet failures and retries and things like that. So whatever happens, if that new firmware fails to update, the device has to self-recover back to its previous version or the factory load of firmware. And then all that requires really rigorous system testing. And one thing to keep in mind is, remember, wireless is very different than a wired connection. So a LoRaWAN device that's 5 kilometers away is going to behave very differently than a LoRaWAN device that's on the other side of the lab. The data rates are going to be 2 orders of magnitude difference, so things can be on the air a whole lot longer. So you really need to test under a variety of RF conditions, power conditions. Test your network with 10 sensors on it, test your network with 1,000 sensors on it, that sort of thing. And then also remember, if you're doing firmware updates, so when you update firmware on a device, firmware size never gets smaller, right? Your file just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you have a device you're going to ship that does going to have firmware updates, be sure you've got lots of extra memory, because over time and over the next 5 or 6 revs, all of a sudden you thought that 256 kilobyte was going to be enough. And now you realize that, boy, I wish I had a megabyte part. And remember that you're going to be storing 2 firmware loads as well, because you always need the one to fall back on if your new one fails. And finally, there's a cheat that I've been seeing. I shouldn't call it a cheat. It's a little bit of a workaround, because in some cases you do want a higher bandwidth user interface to your sensor. And Bluetooth has gotten so cost effective that I've seen a number of people now are putting, like for example, in a LoRaWAN device or a narrowband IoT device, also putting a Bluetooth radio in there. And that gives you a pseudo, firmware up over the air, a way to communicate with that device at a higher bandwidth for a pretty low cost. And at least you don't have to, physically connect to the device. If it's a device installed at the top of a pole or something like that, now you can get within 30 meters or so of the device and interact with it at a higher bandwidth level. So, we've been seeing that happen, and it also allows people to tick that box to say, yes, my wireless sensor can be firmware updated over the air, just not over LoRaWAN, but it can be over Bluetooth. And that kind of makes the IT guys, a little, satisfies that tick box requirement. So something to think about there. In places I can help, if any of you are working in this wireless sensing space, I'm happy to help with requirements review and really, it's so important to be sure you get the right product market fit up front. Product development is so time consuming and so expensive. You really want to be sure that you're delivering what the market really needs, which isn't always exactly what the market's asking for. And I can definitely help with system architecture and commercial readiness review. And then I'm very strong in the whole kind of go-to-market strategy and planning on the business side of IoT as well. So anybody feel free to reach out to me on the server or via email anytime. Anyway, that's just a lot of monologue from me. If there's any questions or discussion.
So that's a good one, Mike. So you gave like a full stack overview of like where it starts from, why would you need it, and the ways of doing it. So nice one. So I do agree with you. Like OTA is the kind of the final phase of project development. You often need to have it before shipping it to the customer. But there are certain cases where you want it or not want it. So there is a judgment required to take that decision. But it's like if you either you can say, hey, look, I will send you a bin file, just approve it in bin file location and do it. So that's a not so good way of doing it. And if you want to sound fancy and like be like sell the device optimized, then it's like a salvation point for having continuous updates and improve the device performance if you do a update in the development also. So a few questions are like generally we see there are things that you can certain ways of doing OTAs. You have a bin file over phone, you connect it to the device over Bluetooth and then do it from there, or LoRaWAN is the instance you were telling. So what is the most popular one? So I'd like to hear from everyone. I think Umesh also adds to the wants to add some point here. I'm sure we'll have experience working in this domain, and probably Abhishek, Srisha, everyone. So,
yeah. So I hope I'm audible.
Yeah. Well,
okay. I would like to just to understand a little bit more what's going on right now with the FOTA. I remember when we built a platform for our company, there were nothing like in AWS services called firmware over the air updates or something, because this is just recently launched under the AWS umbrella. If we go back to 2017, 2018, AWS doesn't have those kind of feature. And I remember how we implemented on our platform is basically doing everything on the device level. So we used to put the EEPROM and then we put the code firmware into the EEPROM first and then push the data into the flash memory. So does the practice that we did a couple of years back it still exists right now, or people in industries are leveraging what the enterprise IoT platform provides right now, like FOTA feature under the cloud platform itself? So I would like to know from Mike, like what's going on right now, how people are leveraging this FOTA in terms of integrating in solution.
Yeah, I think it varies, but it's obvious it gets very processor platform specific, right? So, and I would say if you look at AWS and Azure, they're very strong right till you get below, the gateway level, and there things get very murky, and they generally have to waive those sorts of requirements. So they, again, it's kind of like the computer and the mouse analogy. They say, they kind of draw the line and say everything down below the sensor, is, the kind of way those are get very murky about those requirements. In general, that architecture is still the way it works. You're dividing up your firmware into a whole bunch of small packets and error correcting and then rebuilding that file in a separate location and validating that firmware, before, and in many cases, it can take a number of attempts, to get that much connectivity to this wireless device that doesn't have a great connection, or it's very easy to have a number of packets need to be resent. But anyway, then once you get that file successfully built, then you're feeding it in and starting that local device level update, kind of the same way as if you had done a wired connection through a programming port. But it's getting that file down there is a tricky bit. Especially if you might be sending it 11 bytes at a time under a wide spreading factor on LoRa, something like that.
Correct. So you don't see that much adaptation in IoT solution from the cloud supplier point of view, right? What I understand.
Yeah.
Because the way we handle this problem is so much on the hardware and firmware side when we did it like 5 years back. And the reason I asked is because I don't spend so much time these days with the cloud platforms. I'm so much engaged right now in a production, and now our platform is and what you said was really true. It's a hell lot of work to handle everything on the hardware side, and then making sure, and then you also talked about if you update the patch and then that doesn't apply, maybe the update completely failed. So and I was just wonder, like when I looked at last time that the FOTA is there on the AWS IoT core, and I wonder, like, are people using, or they just have in the console, AWS console? So that was my curiosity.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm not sure that I've seen it ever used in a microcontroller, setting. I think it stops short of that. I think it's probably up at an ARM or a x86 architecture.
Right.
Well. Another thing is are bootloaders a necessity while you implement FOTA in firmware?
Yeah, and I also feel like, because I'm seeing AWS since 2016 and 2015, ever since its inception. Even when I remember my early, even I train people in the different big companies, and even if you go back to my older documentation, those were very basic features, and I don't think people even use maybe 30 or 40% of what IoT Core has to offer. It takes like 4 to 5 years. I mean, maybe they just introduced to the people so people could just play around it. And maybe 4, 5, 6 years later, maybe the commercial use cases will come off from that. So maybe FOTA will see 4 or 5 years down the line, maybe more used in the solutions, whoever is using IoT Core.
Yeah, and I do think it is used heavily in edge compute. So if you're deploying an industrial PC or a single board computer sort of thing, for there certainly it's being used. But when you get to these constrained devices, it isn't really a software question. It's like, wait a minute, my bandwidth is only X and my battery life is only this. When we designed LoRaWAN sensor products, we usually designed it such that the battery life could support 200,000 transmissions. So it could wake up every hour and send. Have a lifespan of 200,000 transmissions, but that's usually sending 11 byte payload, right? So if all of a sudden we said, right, now we're going to throw in a 1 megabyte firmware update into that, now instead of having a 5-year battery life, I might have a 3-month battery life, and that's not a very good trade-off.
In fact, from this discussion, I got very interesting question. Like many people ask me, like, you have a FOTA feature on your platform, and then why do you want to send people for servicing or maybe troubleshooting into the client's location? I mean, we do have 5 dedicated engineers, and we send them across all India whenever the issue comes. And what you said is perfectly fits well there. For microcontroller based products, it's very difficult because a hell lot of sensor systems comes in. But in single board computer or the edge computer, I think that's where it fits very well, where you can say, I don't need to do any, I don't need to send anybody in order to fix the field issues. But in microcontroller case, like our product uses some MCUs in the field, and those situations for emergency, of course, you have to have a backups in order to provide better service to your customer. And I completely feel that.
Yeah, good.
Good.
Yeah,
So we have a lot
well,
of new faces today.
true. Maybe people have joined a little late, also. We should have a round of update or a kind of introduction. Otherwise, it's like
We
a
should
friction.
give some time
Anyways,
to,
yeah.
we should
So we
give
have.
time to
Mm. Oh,
the
Nagaraju
people.
is here. I think we have talked quite about his project and things like that. Nagaraju, hi. Then who else? We have Prachi, then Shikandar. Cool. And yeah, this being here, Mike, I also wanted to ask, like, what is the common use case? Like, generally, you see a former of the update, like, yeah, over their update. So there, you can either do it over the LoRa network which you were telling, and then also the phone. I was asking this earlier, right? So, what are like top use cases you've seen and the efficient ones?
Top use cases for using FOTA?
Yeah, and the way of doing it.
Yeah, most common is going to be an embedded computing using Linux or Windows, as an operating system, and then you can use kind of the OS related tools and libraries. So, a lot of the IoT gateways are almost always embedded Linux sort of things, and the real driving factor behind most of those, I would say, on our IoT gateway platforms, we might do six releases in a year, and out of those six, usually 2 of them were maintenance releases, bug fixes, improvements. Then the other 4 were usually in response to CVEs, published vulnerability threats that impacted one of the libraries. So you're constantly doing these releases just to respond to changes in the OS or the libraries you're using to respond to security threats, and usually, more and more, we follow like the NIST cybersecurity protocol, or more companies are getting ISO 27001 for cybersecurity ratings, and all those things have requirements on how you monitor your products for security update needs, how you communicate those threats to your customers, and how you respond to those. So usually there's some sort of triage process of how severe is this, how quickly can we fix it, sort of thing, and then having a communications method to notify your customers that there's something coming, and here's what we're doing about it. So certainly. So as soon as you get into a Linux device, you just, if it's going to be attached to any kind of a network, you really have to be able to support FOTA for that reason. But it's much easier to do if you're a Linux device. You're very likely not a battery powered, or maybe you're solar and battery powered. So you're no longer talking a tiny little battery. You're talking about significant battery, or your network attached device. So those devices absolutely need FOTA capability, and it shouldn't be overlooked. Otherwise, you're going to have a security problem. You're basically creating a latent security problem in the field. So that's the most common use case to me. The second one is, and this one is one that sometimes sales departments will always push for, the whole idea that, hey, look, we're selling this single board computer, or this embedded computer that's been programmed to do a certain task. We want to be able to kind of like Tesla, where we can roll out new features and give customers new features over the air, and delight our customers that way. And in Tesla's case, and in consumer use cases, yeah, I get that. But in business use cases, when you buy a product and put it out in the field, you bought it to do one job, or and you put it in the field and it does that job. You're not expecting that thing to all of a sudden do something new in the field. Matter of fact, you don't want it to do that, because they've done all kinds of system testing and qualification to be sure your product does what it's supposed to do in those use cases it's being used for. So if all of a sudden you say, hey, we have a new firmware release coming out because it adds a bunch of new features you might not be using, that customer might say, no, I don't want that new firmware update because now that means I need to do 2 weeks of testing and qualification before I can put it out in the field, sort of thing. So I've never really bought into that argument in the enterprise world so much around, hey, we're going to put new functionality into the device, but certainly bug fixes and security patches. I mean, those are the driving use cases.
Well. Yeah, that's cool. That's good. So now, I think some other people might also have worked on it. So maybe we can talk more about it in the DevEd's feed or like the DevEd's forum, where you can create a thread and then everyone share about like some pain points. Then maybe Mike having experience can address it, or people can just share their experience. So cool. That's cool. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for your time and insights. Cool.
Thanks, Al.
Now, what do we have next? Okay, Christoph has been star in our channel for quite some time, and he was developing this tiny Scarab board version of the RISC-V MCU, and as well further going to have it over Raspberry Pi device as well, the RP2040. So yeah, hi Christoph. So what's going on over there, and maybe we have new people. Quick share about your kit, board, and yeah, whatever else.
I'm not sure
Christoph
whether
is here.
Christoph is here.
Yeah, I think. Okay, he left earlier, and okay, he is here, probably not as a active presenter. Anyways, Christoph, when you come up, do leave a, okay, I can see you guys. You can see, yes.
I think
Christoph
has joined as a not as a presenter, maybe just an attendee. That's why he may not able to share his camera and audio.
Yeah, sure. I think he'll be joining in a while. He's joining us in a while. Presenter in a while. So cool. Till then, we'll look at what else we'll be having. Then about few questions, and then okay. Here, what do we have? The Python script one, and then Brandon was asking about some oscilloscope stuff. A few of the people were addressing it actively about how a few pointers, how to get a clean signal out of oscilloscope read. And as well, we had a question from Nagaraju about ESP8266 RFID device facing troubles in
I think
getting the ID identified. Yeah, RFID identified. So Nagaraju is here, and Umesh, I think you were hands-on into it, and
I want
maybe,
to interrupt
what was
you.
it? And yeah, Umesh.
Yeah, so I think we have a lot of new faces today in our community, and it really makes sense for us to talk a little bit like who we are and how this community will benefit to them. And of course, I wish every member of the community could use the chat box just to quickly introduce if in case they won't be able to turn on their mic and camera. That's absolutely fine, but you can just drop your little bit of introduction, okay, if you want. And I would like to spend a couple of seconds or minutes just to help navigate this, just for them new faces to understand what we are and how they can get most out of the community. Right, Navdeep, is it okay?
Umesh, sorry.
Yeah.
I think I was here at the meeting from the very beginning, but apparently as a guest, not as a speaker. So I rejoined now.
Okay.
So you guys can see me?
Yes. Yeah, I can see you. No problem, Christoph. Now that you're here.
Okay, no. I didn't want to interrupt you. I can do my part after you finished.
Yes,
Yeah.
because that would Yeah,
Yes.
just have a little bit of patience. Maybe we
Yes,
will
no
go
problem. No problem. I
after
just
this.
want to make sure that the technology works now. That's all. Sorry.
Yeah, for everyone, whoever wants to, participates into this live stream, they always have to click the first button. That's, as a presenter, never ever use only attendee. If you press the second button, that's an attendee, then you may not able to share your camera, or you cannot even able to access the mic. So that's a little bit tricky part, but that happens, no problem.
Yeah, my
So
apologies.
no issues. So I think I just quickly say like welcome to everyone whoever joined us recently, and we are a community of the name itself says it's an IoT integration, but of course there are a lot of different topics we talk in this community that includes embedded software, embedded hardware, not embedded specifically, you can just say software and hardware, and then IoT cloud integration and all other technologies around it. So you might have seen in a community, you can ask your questions, like if you are working on some specific technology, facing a problem towards certain things to make it work, feel free to use the channels, relevant channels, and post your questions. And you can also make a use of the chat to quickly, if you have a quick something to ask, because we have a lot of different experts here from variety of different fields that includes hardware, software, and all sorts of assistance that you require, so that you can expect in this community. And by the way, a little bit about myself. So I'm Umesh Lokhande. I'm based in Pune, India, and my specialty is about the firmware development. I do have an experience past 10 years building end-to-end IoT solution, but you can expect a specific help from me towards firmware and a little bit of software and hardware wherever my skills may somehow helpful to you. I mean, that's all I have. And feel free to let us know, all of you, to like what kind of uh, you know what is your expectation, what kind of technology that you are interested in, what kind of hardware, software tools that you are interested in, so we can try our best to ask more experts in that specific domain to join the community. Thank you very much. Yes, Christoph, now.
Great.
Okay. So you would like me to talk about
Yeah.
our community board,
Now,
Tiny
Yeah, we
Scarab?
were.
now
Yeah,
if you can change the layout, it's
yeah, sure.
yeah. So
Yeah,
take it
yeah.
to Chris.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Christoph,
Hi guys.
on the highlight.
Hi.
Yeah, I had a little accident, as you can see, but I'm all right.
Bye bye.
Oh, okay. What happened?
I fell, just a
Oh,
stupid
okay.
accident.
Got bitten by Scarab.
Okay, so to the community board, let me share my display. I will share the entire screen, this one. Okay, can you guys see it?
Yeah, it's up.
Yep, perfect. So not much has changed in the overall appearance of the Tiny Scarab. However, I changed a lot of components with alternative ones, such that the board can be manufactured at GLC PCB instead of Eurocircuit. So at first I designed the board such that all the components were available at Eurocircuits, but Eurocircuits is quite expensive. I figured out that to produce 10 boards, I'd have to pay 850 up to 900 euros. So that's almost $1,000. It's way too much. So at GLC PCB, I can probably produce this board 10 pieces for 150 euro. yeah, so I need to finish a few things to be absolutely sure about the price, but it's not going to be very expensive. That's the main difference compared to last time. Maybe I should, I forgot, maybe I should explain what this board is to the new people here. So this is...
maybe just about the MCU and its capabilities.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. So
your
it's
famous
this
Ambitel ID.
board is intended to be for the whole community of dev heads and beyond. It's an open source hardware, so I'll share the link again. It's on GitHub. And it's designed in KiCad, an open source EDA software for circuit boards. And it's based on a Tencent RISC-V microcontroller from WCH. I'm intending to build another board in the near future. When this one is ready, I'll go for the RP2040 from Raspberry Pi Foundation. So then we will have 2 community boards at DevHeads. That's the idea. The capabilities of this board, it's very simple. It's just this chip here. This is this one here. That's the target microcontroller, the Tencent RISC-V microcontroller, and all of its pins are accessible on this and this 2 connectors. Then the top side of the board is basically the flash debug circuitry. So the top side of the board enables you to plug in the board with USB-C and to use this part of the board as a flasher or debugger for the target microcontroller. That's it. And there's one fun thing here, which is this slider. You can select if you want to operate the target microcontroller on 3V3 or 5V. So many people love this feature about this microcontroller, that it can run on 5V as well.
I think it's great for the devices that operates on 5V, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Especially industrial sensors, which
yes,
usually often seem to be operate on 5V. Great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
Cool. And
Cool, Christoph. Do share it in self-promote place and let people check it out and have a look at your board.
Mm-hmm. So when I've produced the first batch, if anyone is interested, just contact me and I'll just charge the production cost. I'm not going to make a profit on this, and I can send you a sample.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
So Navdeep, you're taking to presentation, right?
Sorry?
Oh.
Navdeep, you should take to the presentation
layout.
layout.
Right.
Yeah.
So, right. So as the next thing with okay, someone?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Christoph, will it be possible for you to share the step file so that I can create a case for it?
Yes, everything will be open source. It's on GitHub, and you want a step file of the whole circuit board?
Yes.
Yes, that should be possible. I'm not sure how to do that in KiCad, but I'll figure it out. Yeah, it would be great if you can make a case, because I don't have the time to make a case, but if you can do that, great.
Yeah, I will do that.
Thank you.
Christoph?
Yes?
I think it's possible in this one, PCB layout. I think in fabrication, I think you can produce the step file directly.
Okay.
I don't think so. It's available in the 3D view, but in the PCB layout is there, right? PCB designer. Yeah. there I think you can produce it. Export in that export, I think step file, entire step file you can get.
Okay, what I also did
in the
was
file.
I made here
Even
all
the
the sorry, what should I click?
Okay.
File fabrication.
In the files, I think yes, I think you should have a step. If that or in the export.
Export.
Could be in the export as well.
Step, yes, it's here.
Yeah.
Scaled models detected.
Yeah.
Model scaling is not reliable for mechanical export. Okay.
Okay,
Well,
I think I don't.
Tiny
I think
Scarab.
you need to. Yeah.
Okay.
Not sure. Like you have some parts or something on the.
Yeah. Okay, let me see the result. I can check the results. So it should be here. Tiny Scarab.step. Yeah, it's here. I'll open it with the free cat, the cat software that I found online.
Yeah.
And
I think it usually generate with the Gerber files, doesn't it, with the KiCad?
I don't know.
No, I don't think so. It's only in Gerber. It's just Gerber files. That's it. Like all the layers, and you have to generate the drill files separately. Everything separately.
Yeah. In Altium, it generates everything as a part of manufacturing files.
Altium is a pro.
Okay.
Yes.
I think it's like in Altium. I think you have to select all. Okay. Maybe. Okay. I thought because I have generated a step file once, but I don't know if anything else is required, like to tick mark.
I think it's a great topic for forum. How to generate Gerber files, and you can then communicate and then help each other, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We will do that.
Many people will get a great benefit out of it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks, Electro Buffin, for bringing that up. Maybe there's the good thing about community. Like one thing adds up to another, and we'll now have like a good enclosure for it and handleable project. So cool. By the way, what's your favorite CAD software, Electro Buffin?
I generally use like Fusion 360, but I have get my hands dirty on FreeCAD as well, and Blender as well. I tried a bit. Then there is a software called OpenSCAD, in which you can write the code and produce that CAD model. Majorly, I use Fusion 360.
Oh, it's like you put the coordinates.
Yes, like there are some kind of
my personal favorite is Fusion
functions.
360.
Mine too.
Cool. All right. So with the next thing about the progress of community and partnerships. So we were, actively working on getting certain demo videos, so-called solve videos out. So people can have a look and like get benefit from how to get started with things like early mid-career people as well. So there is one coming up related to FPGAs, finite state machine implementation. Then one related to PC manufacturing. Peter, you can give a quick intro and then tell about what's coming up. What's the video about? Are you here?
I think Peter is not here.
Okay. Well. So yeah, missing him today. Cool. And other one is next about Abhishek. Abhishek is going to share about build route and menu config stuff. So Abhishek, maybe you can introduce yourself and tell us what's coming up soon. Your audio isn't up, Abhishek. Although you're unmuted, your audio is not coming.
Right now, can you listen?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just two-way audio, one from here, and gate. So basically I will start from W20 board, Raspberry Pi W02, 0W2, and like build root configurations into this one, and having a hello world code, like we can go to that level, like okay, where should we start the board? So basically very first thing, if you go to directly build root and try to build for W20 this board, it won't build. you have to go to some release, like good release branch, and then it will print. So it's a latest one, so they don't have like the master is not working properly. I just tried that one, and yeah, I'll be bringing the stuff upon like the configuration, building your own custom Linux, and from scratch, like from scratch to the where we can configure the packages. We can have like whatever we need, like you want Python support, you want Perl support, you want basically whichever support. So I will bring up those kinds of videos from that point, and further we will move on to the other aspects as well. So starting would be like build root simple, which could be a quick. Yeah.
I think with
Perfect.
Abhishek, we will lay down the foundation for embedded Linux. So basically, whatever the term that Abhishek is using, build root and Yocto and other things, is basically a part of embedded Linux. That's, I'm just saying because maybe the people who work from those who are coming from a bare metal or something may just to add this couple of words to make more sense to what he's saying. So basically, those people in our community who are looking forward to learn embedded Linux and develop some level of expertise, maybe they should keep their eye on the content of Abhishek. And it would be really amazing to start with Buildroot and then going forward to the Yocto. Amazing. I'm looking forward to see content, Abhishek, from you.
Yes,
Yeah.
surely.
Just to tell about our community has very well branched out now. So if I can show my fingers like this, so we have hardware design, Peter with all expertise. We have Pallav on the working on certain hardware topics, and also his infamous teardown topics. Then we have things related to firmware, Umesh, and a bunch of other stuff. People, Christoph is there, and Srisha, and all these people. Then we also have things related to IoT. Lucas is here, the AWS stuff. Then Mike again, the IoT champ, and yeah, all these areas are covered. It's like a full stack electronics along with
Also enclosure design as well, right? So amazing.
yeah.
Like we have
Sorry,
an entire
I
product
missed it.
team. Um,
True.
I mean, if somebody
So
wants to
it
build,
is,
if somebody wants to build entire product, they could get all bits of advice and put together, and probably someday they could be even for entrepreneurs, future entrepreneurs. Great.
yeah.
Yeah, we could do some open source projects. We could complete open source project.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like Thor's
Amazing.
gauntlet, like 5 gems.
I have
Power.
also question this. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, Abhishek.
Oh, yeah. That's go ahead, Krishna.
When this community board, the tiny Scarab, is ready, and when we have an enclosure, and it's actually like, yeah, a product, you could say, a development board product. We could, as the DevHeads community, distribute this in some way, but I'm not an expert in distributing actual products, so I don't know if you guys have any experience in this. I see somebody ask me if I have a 3D printer. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe very soon you will have.
Make friendship with electrobuffing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks like it gives more sense to the community when, let's say, Christoph makes the hardware, and then Electrobub make the enclosure and put together, and maybe the community is using it. Maybe
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe we can share nice use cases and build some solutions around industrial solutions. Let's say sometimes you can take this board, tiny Scarab, and hook up to, let's say, some energy meter or something like that. I mean, there's a full possibilities.
Yeah.
For now, like for a while, I am also working on a robotic arm. So like we can also integrate this with our robotic arm. That will be open source too.
Great.
Electro, are you working like with a micro ROS perspective for the robotic arm, or like the actuation, or like the handling part? Because I would like to work on the actuation.
That would be great. Like we already have a team of 3 people. We are working on that. Some people are managing the raw stuff. Some are building the software. So we would love to have you.
Sure, sure.
Great. And in the Discord community, you can see a dedicated teardown channel where Palo is posting about what's inside anything and everything. So yeah, you can have a look at over there. I think weekly he's spinning out a couple of blogs about it. So some nice place. So, yeah. Other than that, yeah, another opportunity like a bunch of new people. It's good. For the first time, we're having a lot of people over here, 18 people. So, any questions, comments, suggestions? People who are new, they will. Generally be. If you have any ideas, if you are expecting anything from the community or anything you would like to share, please. Sikandar, hi.
Yes, B.
Hi, hello.
Hello,
Hi,
hello.
it's
So, maybe
great
I
to be
intro about
part
you.
of community.
What's up? Mhm.
You continue.
Okay, okay. I was just asking, what do you do when any project you are working on currently you would like to share?
No, I'm fresher to this embedded system. Currently, I'm working on PLC projects, not on embedded, but trying to switch on embedded and electronics part.
Okay, okay, cool. So PLC stuff, you mean something related to industrial automation and
Yes.
like,
Industrial
is it?
automation.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
cool. And well, anyone else? Any comments or suggestions? New people?
Feel free to
I
use
like
the
to
time.
I like to put one thing out. Like I can see many people are from Bangalore again.
Oh, yeah,
So yeah, many people like from the
Yeah,
chat itself
yeah,
and from like there is a good number of people from Bangalore again, and like we can
yeah.
have like a weekend session of like 1 or 2 hour at some place like let's say some third wave or some anywhere basically. And I mean, what if we make it like a podcast kind of a thing where all we come to Kaban Park or anywhere like a get together kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Anyone can add up to it.
actually, I was talking to Navdeep about getting a shared space, like a meeting space, and he's in Bangalore. I think that maybe this weekend, Navdeep, you and I can connect on that and follow up because I know that we still have that on the to-do list. And yeah, I mean, if it works, go for it.
You mean like meeting space actually
The physically
meeting?
Yeah,
Oh,
physical
great.
meeting space.
That would be great. Yeah.
And actually,
and like if we can
sorry, go ahead.
put it onto the cloud as well, like let's live stream the whole talking part. Like, what if like 5 people, 7 people, 10 people to sit together at one place and live stream?
Mm-hmm.
Just like going like out of this thing, like thinking, but
Yeah,
Maybe India is a good idea because most of you guys are already in India, and I don't think I need a visa to get there. I don't know about you, Brandon. If you need a visa to go to India, probably not.
no, just 30 hours.
Yeah, just 30 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, just 30 hours in the plane.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of jet lag. Yeah.
We should have
30.
we have
Wow, that's a lot.
plenty of space, but in Pune.
So
We have a big office here in Pune, but Pune is not
I
Bangalore.
also belongs to Pune.
Okay.
I think this is something that some of us will take as an action item to look into more deeply. I think it's a really good idea, and we just got to put some structure around it so it makes sense. But yeah. Oh, the other thing I was going to ask is if you all have connections into like or groups like Deeply Embedded and Getabyte and stuff like that. Especially connecting with them around something like this and letting them know that, we're thinking about doing an in-person meetup, because I know that Deeply Embedded for sure has done meetups before, right? In-person meetups before. It's like, well, if they've already got a group of people who are doing that, and it just so happens that there's a contingent of them in Bangalore, for example. That might be a good way to accelerate this, lessons learned and all that stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Let's look into it. Good point. Thanks for the suggestion, Abhishek. And hey, hi Brandon. By the way,
hello.
Jumped in there.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. So maybe to continue with the flow, we are little over an hour, but yeah. So yeah, continuous improvement. We've been talking this in every meet. So any suggestions to get like 1% better? Any pointers? So one thing I would say is like to put the discussions quite structured in the feed. So even a couple of other people are highlighting, but anything else?
I had like a suggestion, you can say, like we can have a page for like memes on embedded, like not a page, basically you can get good traction, people talking to each other, and like a nerdy kind of a memes.
Well, to keep a little sense of humor on. Yeah. Cool.
You can throw that in off topic for now if you want. I get in trouble when we add too many channels. The community managers go all crazy.
Okay. Well, and if you have anything working, and if you are working on any project stuff like that, so do feel free to share it over the hash self promote. So it's a good way to show people and get to know what you're get to other people know what you're working on and network over there. And then yep. So okay, I see it's some O secret section. It's indexed. So Brandon, are we up on Google search now? Will these things come?
There are some that are indexed now. Just so everybody knows, there is a website that we're building around the Discord channel, and that's where all of the forum conversations, at least, are hosted. So that's probably going to be up towards the end of February. Sorry, but in the meantime, if you just search DevHead's IoT integration server, you can see that there are a couple of things up there right now. Just to sort of just proof of concept. It's called under answer overflow. It'll say respecting the end user's privacy. That's something that was pulled out of our server. So not everything's up there yet, but it will be.
Great. Yep. And other than that, questions for new people. Anything you are expecting from the community or anything more? So yeah, that's it. And other than that, you can always leave it over the suggestions box section in the server, and certain resources about Peter has been very audible about hardware design and sharing tips on that. So do check out that, and follow Stared on blogs. Then some other stuff. So cool. Always open. You can give a session for next meet or what can be a topic. So if we'll see what more people are concentrated towards and interested, so we can always customize the topic and get people to talk about it. So yeah, that's one thing. And yeah, thanks for being David. It's been a good an hour and a little more. So now if anyone wants to say anything or add on to it or talk anything about, did we miss anything out? So please open. Cool. Well, Brandon, any closing remarks?
No, thanks a lot, everybody. This meeting happens every Friday at 1500 GMT. So feel free to come back. If you have topics that you want to discuss, shoot them, either to me, I'm at Techilu, Navdeep, Umesh, just we're always looking for new topics and want to address things that are of general interest to the community. So, looking forward to it. And I just always say that, this isn't mine or Navdeep's or Umesh, this is all of our things. So all of your suggestions and feedback, all of that gets seriously taken into account and implemented. We're not going to implement things for one or two people, but if it's of greater, for the greater good, we'll do it because this belongs to everybody. So happy you're here and happy to keep building together.
And I want to add one line quickly for the RFID question that posted on our forum last week. I have tested the code personally on the real hardware, and I think it's a verified code. It's a verified connection. If there is anything that can go wrong, is basically just a module connection with the Node MCU. So whoever asked this question, just try that code and let me know in a community if you succeed. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for handling that, and it's good. We were following like what's happening with that topic, and cool, everyone. And just as to highlight, we always looking for like collaborations or where ideas can come together. So certain people are expert at something, so everyone can add on their topics, and we can always explore integration, just like the server name says. So it's good. We are seeing certain things happening over here, and exciting times. So thanks for joining in, and have a great rest of your day, night, evening, anything. Bye.
Thanks, Navdeep. See you later.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.